What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break you down what's moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is down 2.77%, 15.29 the low, 16.82 the high. So market's going to be closing in roughly around 40 seconds. And so we're seeing a nice push higher, and that's because of optimism for tonight. So potentially we might be getting some news, assuming the vote goes according to plan, that the government shutdown does and is over. So that would be a pretty good catalyst for Thursday. And so the market is assuming it's going to go according to plan and is starting to really move higher. But nonetheless, in Lucid's case, it did almost have a 52-week and all-time low. So absolutely crazy stuff. A lot of volume, mind you. So 18.05 million shares being traded today. 9.4 is the average. But what they did put out was rather interesting. So popping over here, they did put out this news this morning at 4:51. So if you're curious about what the whole convertible note is about and some things to pay attention to, I did a video very late last night where I went over all of that. But nonetheless, they did put out a 8K this morning that didn't really say anything whatsoever. It was more of a copy and paste from yesterday's news, so kind of a waste, unfortunately. But at 4:51 this morning, they did put out news where they broke down some details. So ultimately, in here, it does show it is a 7% convertible note. That is something that the news yesterday did not say. So that is huge. And this is going to be unpopular opinion, but it's the honest truth. The fact that it's 7%, that does signal that the PIF sees Lucid as a riskier play. So in case you are kind of new to this type of thing, no different than, I guess, on a personal level. If you have bad credit, well, unfortunately, you're going to get a higher interest rate. And this is exactly how this does follow. So 7% is not great at all. So in addition to that, though, we were going to be looking for a couple of things. One of which, whether they did a capped call transaction. Second is the convertible price. So convertible price is right here, $20.81. So hypothetically, they also do cap it at, for the conversion, 130% of that. So in general, this isn't great. Even the PIF and Lucid, obviously they came to this agreement, they don't really see that significant of upside. So in general, that's also another potential red flag. And then one thing as well, like I really hit home yesterday, which was very important, was that they did a capped call. And so their first note, which they're trying to close out quite a lot of, so 2026 note, I think it's due in September, if I remember correctly. In here, it does signal that they're throwing, I think, what was it, 700 something million at it, right up top. I'll kind of cycle back to that, but nonetheless, not enough to pay off the full note. So there's still going to be roughly about 100 million left over of the 2026 note. The 2024 note, they actually did do a capped call, and they actually broke it down where they go over kind of what it means, how it does limit the amount of dilution. But this time around, at least from the 8K and this news that came out today, there was no hint, no wording of any capped call. So capped calls, it's no different than you just buying a call, a straight up call option, just to kind of potentially hedge for future kind of dilution. So some companies don't like to do it because the premiums can be kind of high. So in general, it doesn't look like Lucid did do that. So this is why shorts kind of were having a field day. So by the end of the day, they did increase 514,000 shares, 29.6% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 42.6 million shares overall being shorted. At the peak, shorts did increase of roughly around 4.3 million. So despite the higher volume, a lot of that did come from shorts. So as I've mentioned in the last couple of videos, like dilution and shorts, like shorts are very familiar with Lucid, and I think Lucid's making it easy for shorts. So this is why a lot of us have always questioned, why is shorts hanging around? And it's because, I don't know, maybe Lucid is secretly working with some of them, or Lucid wants to be shorted. I'm not really sure. It just does not make sense even in these notes that was just announced, why they didn't do a capped call. So it kind of is though that they want a lot of dilution to happen, and the only one that would benefit is technically the PIF. So let me know your general thoughts on that. I know it might be very unpopular opinion, but any stock relying on convertible products such as preferred stock or just notes, a lot of people love to target them to short. Even as I mentioned in my video yesterday, technically on one of my YouTube channels, I call out stocks that do convertible notes without a capped call because it's very easy to kind of bring them down. So I think in general, Lucid is making a very, very, very bad mistake by not doing a capped call, which is weird. Like I said, they did it on their second note, which is due 2030, but why they didn't do it this time, it's clearly they're just getting cheap and they don't want to spend money. But let me know your general thoughts on that. It might be an unpopular opinion, but it is what it is. 2.8 million in calls, 12 million in puts. 42% of all the options being done were bearish in nature, and most of that is most likely bearish. The reason why it shows as neutral is because big money, like such big money, gets in and does these transactions. It eats up both the bid and the ask, so it's very hard for systems to kind of distinguish whether they're bullish or bearish. So let me know your thoughts on that. But nonetheless, from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around $16, so virtually no optimism going on today. Going into next week, you see maybe a recovery to $17 on the table, but the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 16 and even worse, sub 14.50 to 15 next week. So as I mentioned, I think the broader market is very hyped up because of the whole shutdown potentially finally coming to a conclusion, but I think Lucid is making some pretty dumb mistakes, and they're making it very easy for shorts. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000, so somewhat evenly divided, so feel free to kind of look at the timestamp and look at that if that's your thing. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool, so 3.09, 1.8, 1.3. Given how active shorts were today, it is fair to assume that most of this was linked to them. With it closing at 16.59, it is trading between this S1 and this S2, so 15.32 is going to be that strong support, and that's kind of the low for today. So 15.29 was the low, so it bounced off of that general area, so we know this is a good support level. Still, it's just if that does break, then you could potentially see that $12 range, which would be insane. But 17.16 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So if we do get some good shutdown news, then that might be potentially on the table. So Lucid could piggyback off of the broader market. But aside from all of that, though, on the actual chart, things aren't looking great whatsoever. So still below a lot of the key pivotal moving averages. Stochastic RSI is at about 57, so it's neutral, not really overbought nor oversold. And looking at the market position, you don't really see that much willing buyers, more roughly around that 15, kind of low 15s to mid 15s. There seems to be a little bit more of an increase in willing buyers, but still, I don't think that's going to be giving anyone any warm and fuzzy feelings. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? What's your kind of honest takeaway from the convertible notes? I see a lot of people posting saying that it's bullish, but they're asking AI if it's bullish. And of course, AI is going to say, yeah, it's good because technically the alternative is straight dilution. So it is the lesser of two evils, but it's definitely not good. So it's definitely kicking the can down the line or road or whatever you want to call it. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.